China's new super destroyers just changed naval warfare seriously. 10 ships. 12,000 tons each. And enough missiles to wipe out an entire fleet. Modestly calling themselves destroyers, they are actually cruisers. In just 6 years, China quietly built one of the most powerful destroyer forces on Earth. And now, 2 new giants have appeared. Destroyer 109. Destroyer 110. At first glance, they look almost identical to the earlier ships. But inside, something has changed. New radar. New engines. Possibly with hypersonic missiles. So the real question is not what these ships are called. The real question is what they are meant for. Because these destroyers were designed for one thing: power projection far beyond China's shores. And China means it. On March 8, 2026, Chinese state television broadcast something unusual. 2 massive warships are sailing through the ocean. Their hull numbers were clearly visible. 109 and 110. These ships are named Dongguan and Anqing. And with their arrival, the Chinese Navy now operates 10 Type 055 destroyers. That number alone is significant. Because the Type 055 is not just another destroyer. It is the largest and most powerful surface combat ship China has ever built. Each one displaces more than 12,000 tons. That is larger than many cruisers. In fact, some military analysts believe the Type 055 should actually be classified as a cruiser. But labels do not really matter. What matters is what these ships can do. And the answer is simple. A lot. To understand why these ships matter, we have to go back to 2020. That was when the first Type 055 destroyer officially entered service. Its name was Nanchang. At the time, it immediately caught the attention of naval experts around the world. Because China had just built a destroyer that could compete with the most advanced warships on Earth. And then something even more surprising happened. China kept building them. One after another. Like dumplings. Lesa. Anshan. Wuxi. Dalian. Yenin. Junyi. Xianyang. And now Dongguan and Anqing. 10 ships in just 6 years. For a warship this large and complex, that speed is extraordinary. For comparison, the United States spent nearly a decade building just 3 Zumwalt-class destroyers. China built an entire fleet, and each ship in the fleet is a floating missile arsenal. So what makes the Type 055 so powerful? The answer starts with missiles. Lots of them. Each ship carries 112 vertical launch cells. Think of these as missile silos built directly into the deck. Inside those launch cells, the ship can carry many different weapons. Long-range air defense missiles. Anti-ship cruise missiles. Anti-submarine weapons. And even land attack missiles. In other words, a single ship can defend itself, defend an entire fleet, and attack targets hundreds of miles away. That level of flexibility makes the Type 055 something like a Swiss Army knife of naval warfare. But missiles are only part of the story. Because to use those weapons effectively, the ship also needs to see everything around it. The Type 055 uses a powerful radar system built into the sides of its superstructure. These large square panels are phased array radars. They constantly scan the sky and the ocean for threats. Aircraft. Missiles. Ships. Even stealth targets. This radar can track dozens of targets at once and guide defensive missiles toward incoming threats. In a modern naval battle, information is everything. And ships like the Type 055 act as floating sensor platforms. They collect data, share it with other ships, and coordinate the entire fleet's defense. But the 2 newest destroyers may have taken that capability even further. At first glance, Dongguan and Anqing look almost identical to the earlier Type 055 destroyers. Same shape. Same massive hull. Same stealthy angles. But according to Chinese military analysts, the changes are mostly inside the ship. First, stealth. The newer ships reportedly use improved materials and design techniques. These reduce radar reflections and electromagnetic signatures, which means enemy radar systems may have a harder time detecting the ship. Second, radar upgrades. The new destroyers may carry improved radar systems capable of detecting stealth aircraft at longer distances. That would be extremely important in any future naval conflict. Stealth aircraft are designed specifically to avoid detection. Third, propulsion. The engines powering the ship may have been upgraded. Stronger engines mean higher speed. But they also mean something else. More electrical power. And that could unlock entirely new types of weapons. Modern warships are no longer just platforms for missiles and guns. They are becoming floating energy systems. Because the next generation of weapons requires enormous electrical power. Laser weapons. Electromagnetic railguns. Advanced electronic warfare systems. The new Type 055 destroyers reportedly reserve space and power capacity for these technologies. That means the ships entering service today could become even more powerful in the future. But there is one weapon that has already captured global attention. Hypersonic missiles. Some reports suggest the Type 055 destroyer can carry the YJ-21 weapon. It is believed to be a hypersonic anti-ship missile. Hypersonic means speeds above Mach 5. That is more than 5 times the speed of sound. At those speeds, interception becomes extremely difficult. A hypersonic missile can travel hundreds of miles and strike a target within minutes. And if deployed in large numbers from multiple ships, they could pose a serious threat even to heavily defended carrier groups. Which leads to the next question. Why does China need so many of these destroyers? To protect its carriers. China now operates 3 aircraft carriers. Liaoning, Shandong, and the newest one, Fujian. Aircraft carriers are among the most powerful military assets in the world. But they are also vulnerable. They require protection from enemy aircraft, missiles, and submarines. That is where destroyers like the Type 055 come in. Their job is to escort the carrier, provide air defense, intercept incoming missiles, and strike enemy ships before they can get close. Chinese analysts sometimes describe the Type 055 as the carrier's bodyguard, like the kung fu masters or sorters who surrounded an emperor in ancient China. They protect the fleet. But they can also attack. For most of its modern history, China's navy focused primarily on defending its own coastline. But that strategy has been changing. China's economy now depends heavily on global shipping routes. Oil from the Middle East. Raw materials from Africa. Trade flows through the Indian Ocean and the Pacific. Protecting those routes requires ships that can operate far from home. Large destroyers like the Type 055 are perfect for this role. They have the endurance, firepower, and command capabilities needed for long-range missions. And that is exactly what China appears to be building. A navy capable of operating worldwide. China divides its navy into 3 main regional fleets. The Northern Theater Command, the Eastern Theater Command, and the Southern Theater Command. The earlier Type 055 destroyers were distributed among these fleets. But the newest ships, Dongguan and Anqing, are believed to serve with the Eastern Theater Command Navy. This fleet operates mainly in the East China Sea, one of the most strategically sensitive regions in the world. That means these ships could play a key role in any future crisis in the region, facing another superpower on the other side of the Pacific Ocean. The closest American equivalent is the Arleigh Burke-class destroyer. These ships are widely considered among the best destroyers ever built. But the Type 055 is larger. It carries more missiles. And it was designed from the start to operate alongside aircraft carriers. The United States still maintains a huge advantage in global naval experience and alliance networks. But the rapid growth of China's destroyer fleet is changing the balance of naval power in the Pacific. And analysts around the world are paying close attention. The arrival of Dongguan and Anqing may seem like just 2 more ships. But they represent something much larger. In less than a decade, China has built one of the most powerful destroyer fleets on Earth. 10 ships in 6 years. Possibly more on the way. Some experts believe China could eventually build 16, or even 20 Type 055 destroyers. And future versions may include even more advanced technologies. Stronger radar systems. New missiles. Directed energy weapons. If that happens, the Type 055 could remain the backbone of China's surface fleet for decades. Now, let us wrap up. Just 10 years ago, ships like this barely existed in China's navy. Today, they are sailing in fleets. The arrival of destroyers 109 and 110 shows how quickly naval power can evolve. Because in the silent competition for control of the oceans, the biggest ships, with the most advanced technology, often shape the future. And the story of the Type 055 destroyer is only just beginning.